Welcome to Personal Mastery Training. I'm your host, Alvin Brown, former world class athlete turned entrepreneur and consultant. Join us as we learn from guests who have conquered their inner battles and share their journeys to success. Get ready for inspirational masterclasses and thought provoking strategy sessions to fuel your path to personal mastery. Let's dive in. Hey, everybody, welcome to Personal Mastery Training, the podcast all about life. Life. The challenge is to how do we master ourselves? Because again, there's no enemy anywhere else that's as bigger, as strong, as challenging as ourselves. This is where most of the struggle comes. They say heaven is within, heaven or hell is within, and it's true. You could live in opulence. You could live with everything you need, money, fame, fortune, beauty, whatever it is, but still struggle, find yourself struggling compared to the person who doesn't have half a quarter as much as you do. Why? Mastery. If you're an athlete, you could struggle as you have all the skills, you're talented, you have all the opportunities, but you still are never hitting that bullseye that the less, quote unquote, less talented is doing. Why? Between our ears, mastery. So this is what this is all about. I'm back with the Alliance. I'm happy to be back, and I want to thank these guys for holding it down for me as I was in my own mastery training, deep ninja level black belt training. And I'm coming out the other side a lot wiser. Um, there was a lot of lessons that I want to share with you. So today, here's what we want to talk about today in this episode. After going through a traumatic experience with someone very close to me, my son, we had some time to think, some time to go deep, and some time to think, and some time to really look at time and how we spend it, how we're spending our time. And listen to that word, by the way. That's something else I want to bring up. The word spend versus invest. Are you spending time? Think about time like money, money and time. If you're spending money, it's going out the door versus investing money. If you're investing money into something, it's for a return. We don't invest to lose. We invest to gain, to appreciate. If we invest in our car collection, it's because it's an investment. If we invest in our, retirement because we want it to go up, we want something back from it. Now compare that to time. Are you spending time doing something or investing time doing it? So what are you getting back from it? So that's one area I want you to think about when you talk about this idea of time. But what we're really going to talk about as well is I read a book recently that said, how many days have you lived? And the idea is not to calculate your age by the this and that, come up with, no, it's how many days have you lived? And it's something I've been challenging my coaching clients on as well, is when you think about your week, 7 days, this past week, whenever you're listening to this, think about your last 7 days, whatever time, whatever day you're listening to this, and ask yourself, how many days can you remember? First of all, that's the one question. Second question is, how many days have you went, wow? How many wow, awe moments did you maybe, drive somewhere and see something that made you go, wow? Did you have it doesn't have to be sexy. This is not where you climb Mount Everest and you get to the top and you went, wow. You don't need that huge of a wow. This could be changing something up in your schedule. One of my clients, I challenged him on this. And this person typically would look at the world as a lot of things going wrong. And this time he said, when I did that exercise, I started to look for moments of wow. And I found them. And he completely switched his thinking around. Even when he attempted to get his family on an outing and weather interrupted it,
You realize it actually doesn't matter. We're spending time together, which is the goal. The goal was not to, it would be nice to go and do the thing he wanted to do, that he aimed to do. But when things change, you can't forget that that wasn't the ultimate outcome, was to do the task done. The ultimate outcome was to hang out with his kids. That was the ultimate outcome. So then that became, instead of a negative, because all he was thinking about before was the weather ruined it and so on and so on. But now he started thinking, no, it was a wow moment because we walked and I hung out with them and we laughed and there you go. So how many wow moments did you have? So I even challenged my clients, drive a different way than you usually go to work. Take a day off that you don't usually take and go to a movie. I don't know. A wow moment. How do you create wow moments? How many days have you lived? Or are you just getting through it? And you know the motto we always say, don't get through it, get from it. Get from the day. Don't get through the day. Too many days go by, and memories are all we're going to have at the end of the day. When you hit your last day, your deathbed, call it, I don't think you're gonna remember the things you bought, the money you have accumulated in your bank account. No, your memories are gonna be flashes of memory on the wow moments. And what you don't want to have is regret that you didn't have wow moments. So, what are your wow moments? How many days have you lived? And if you come up with a lot, amazing. Good job. Keep that going. Make it even bigger. If you're scratching your head trying to think about the last week, last 2 weeks, last month, last 6 months that it wasn't wow, then I'm gonna this let this podcast encourage you to start creating them. And by the way, they're not going to sneak up and bite you. You have to create them. That's the other thing. Create the wow moments. Your life is a you're the director of this movie. It's no one else. You're directing it. So you have choices. I know sometimes we think we can't help it, but we have choices, you know. You can turn a negative job you're in, if you have to do it, into something positive where you're looking at. At least you get to work. There's a different ways of thinking. Some wow moments. All right, so I'm gonna pass that title. I mean, it's not a lot of beefy to it. No, I'm joking, guys. There's a lot to this. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna pass this back to my alliance, and let's see where we go with it. So, with that, I'm gonna pass the mic. The hands are getting
Let's
rubbed
go. Let's
here.
go.
Here we go. Here we go. All right.
Yeah, you
Well,
jump in, Brandon.
yeah, I'll jump in there, man. Hey, so this is I don't believe in coincidences whatsoever, but such a powerful topic to unpack, if you will, uh, and to get into that, right? I think before you can even you and you just said it, Alvin, before you get into and experience that wow moment, right? You gotta make those happen. You gotta take that opportunity. Excuse me, I think it starts with your mindset, right? What's your mental, what's your mind posture, right? We hear about heart posture, but it's a whole nother conversation. It plays into this as well. But what's the posture of your mind? How are you viewing? Are you even viewing life and your day-to-day interactions and experiences from that viewpoint, right? Or allowing yourself to, or are you just going through the motions, right? I think so many of us just go through that motions. That's what an awesome, I wrote it down. How many days do you remember? Like, and that hits me because my wife and I've been saying it, if I think about it, for weeks, months now, if not a year or better, the man, it's Friday already. Like, I'm so tired. What a week. Right. And it's
Yeah.
Monday, then it's Friday, and then it's Sunday, and then it's Monday, and then it's Friday, and it's
Yeah.
like, what are we doing? And we're just, what those, man, this is going to be a life changer for many who hear this, myself included. But I think it starts with that mindset and being intentional and pausing, stopping, taking a breath. And as you just said, like, hey, some people don't get to go to work. Some can't even leave their house. And we've all been in those situations where you're stuck in traffic, and I used to have horrible road rage,
Mhm.
and found myself saying, okay, there's a reason for there's a reason I'm being delayed. What is that? It's and later I've driven through and there's been an accident up ahead. That had I been not been delayed, or I had not got cut off or stopped at a light. Is that coincidental? Maybe, maybe not. But so now I find myself in these situations where if I am delayed or there's a problem or things don't go the way I think they should go, I try to that mindset of like, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this? What How is this a positive thing and not all, because we're so quick to go negative. Rather than look for that wow or create the wow, right? To sit down and just talk to somebody at the airport because you're delayed. That they look upset, you could be upset too, and you're feeling their energy. You can see it on their face, but then you strike up a conversation and an hour goes by and you learn something new. You met a new friend potentially or contact, and who knows what that leads to or the impact it had on their life. But you're not feeling that anxiety, that angst, and that anger or frustration anymore, right? You turn that energy around. So I think the mindset, even going into this, to recognize those 7 days that you just blew through and lost, because you don't get those back, right? You may have another seven coming towards you, and that's a whole nother conversation, right? We should be looking at it from I just got right now, because we all know that tomorrow and an hour from now or 5 minutes from now ain't promised.
Mm.
So that mindset, I think, is huge. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
Amen.
Yeah, I'll jump in, and I think it's it's a lot about perspective, right? How we look at the opportunities we do have, right? Because every time we wake up and open our eyes, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. And I was visiting with a friend the other day, and he made a career change. He went into law enforcement. Young guy, very entrepreneurial. Alan, you met him, Nate. Um, was on the podcast for a little while, and anyway, when he went into law enforcement, it was because he wanted to serve, and his income literally is cut in half. But he's like, I get an opportunity to serve every day, and he said, yeah, there's protecting people and that he said, but it's law enforcement is protect and to serve. Okay. And he said the other day they got a call, an elderly lady had called and her husband had passed away. He's 79 years old. They've been married for 50 years and they've been together all this time. They in this home, raised their children in this home, and she's distraught. And he said, I was able to give her a hug and I was able to sit there as long as she needed me to be there. And he said, I know that was one of the worst days of her life, but he said, I hope I made it a little bit better. And he said, I felt like I invested my time well, right? And there's a, there's a lot to that. So, when we think about sometimes, yeah, I have to do that and I have to do this, and, you know, that's a different mindset, versus I get to do this. I get to do that, right? I get to, take some soup over to a friend, or I get to help somebody shovel their snow, or I get to give someone a ride, right? Or I get to receive a phone call from a friend and just listen. Those are opportunities, right? And we can view them as a burden or a blessing, right? But as we mature, we understand that those burdens weren't burdens, they were really blessings. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, this is a great topic, and as every single week, everything happens for a reason. You know, it's true that often sometimes just we go through life being so numb that everything looks the same. Everything looks the same. And as I listen to you guys, I think of it, imagine sailors just at sea, okay, who are a bit lost, but they don't know it yet. Okay, they look up at the sky, it looks the same every day. They see the sun, they see the birds, they see all of that. And next thing you know, every single day they drift off a little bit in the wrong direction. And if we go through life that way, we have no idea, no, we can not do anything on what comes next. And then we kind of just roll the dice on our life, you know? That's how I see it. Um, Man, all of you guys touched on different things. And just to simplify it as much as possible, hopefully people get it. But I heard the word perspective, I heard the words focus, and the way I see it, yeah, first, just being focused is being intentional. Okay. When we're intentional about what we do, about what happens, about how we think, about our posture, just even the slightest little things, okay, great events can happen from there. And then I think it was Brandon, you talked about pausing, taking a breath. And before our call, Alvin was talking about being calm. Well, if we are intentional and we couple that with just pausing, you know, seeing the situation, being calm, okay, now we're moving forward a little bit. We get to direct a little bit more. And then the next thing after that is being present, you know, truly living our life, seeing what we are. What does that mean? It's just being aware. It's being aware. It's moving from that dream state, okay, to actually living it, truly being there. So if we want more awareness in our life ultimately, and that's how, you know, we can truly feel things, that's how we can truly do things, well, we need to make time to pause sometimes. Okay, we need to make time to reassess, and ultimately the only way to do that is to truly focus, be intentional, focus a little bit more. Okay, all right. Do you guys know Jesse Itzler? Does that ring a bell? Jesse Itzler? Okay, really interesting guy, great speaker, entrepreneur. And he came up with this concept. He calls it building your life's resume. Okay, your life's resume. So he's this amazing entrepreneur. Okay, great life. His wife is also, I think, his wife has $1 billion company. Okay. And a few years back, he met this guy who's a police officer, okay, who's serving people, who looks so happy. And Jesse was just kind of in a rut. Okay, he was in a rut. And as he was speaking to this police officer, the police officer told him every single month he puts out a weekend, okay, where he intentionally organizes something with his son, okay, with his son. It's built in. It doesn't need to be a big thing. It could be whatever, but it's already there. It's built in so that it doesn't get lost. You don't become like those lost sailors at sea. You know it's happening. And then at the end of the year, the way he explains it, he's like, I've at a minimum, I have 12 great, memorable moments with my son because my son is grown, he has his own life. So we kind of build it that way to make sure that we have those memories, you know, that we build together. So Jesse also incorporated that into his life. It could be big, small, but I thought that was a very interesting concept. So in 2024, I added that just to our routine. We're on the fridge here in the kitchen. we have kind of a calendar for the month. Okay, my wife tells me, okay, there's a birthday party here, there's stuff here that she kind of runs the show there, but my job is to make sure that, hey, last weekend of the month I put something in that calendar where we have a family activity for sure. Okay, for sure, and they add up and they add up and they add up, and that's cool because if we're just being honest and we go through our lives, sometimes you end up after the year and you're like, man, what did I truly do, with the people that care the most? Okay, maybe did we spend like one special moment together at Christmas or at someone's birthday, but not every single month there's at least, one moment where it's just about us, okay, the people that truly care. And I thought that was a really cool concept, and it's easily applied to your life because at the end, a successful life is the amount, of magic moments that you do build, and that's a great way to put it in. Matthew McConaughey also, he has a phrase that I would like to share with everyone. He said in his last book, Green Light, ask yourself, how can you live in a way that you look forward to looking back? You know, looking forward to looking back. But let's dissect this again. He starts by saying, ask yourself, what does that take? Just to ask yourself a question, you got to be intentional somewhere. You got to pause to take a moment to really ask yourself the question. And this leads you to be in this present moment. This concept, this rule, this law applies to everything, whether it's business, whether it's your family or just you. It's always the same. In order to recenter, be intentional, pause, be still, as we say. It's not about fighting, reacting, as we were talking about, so you can be in the present moment and so you can truly be aware. And last thing I like to add also, uh, things, okay? We always chase things, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And we do forget about like the true value of moments. Okay, that's what we keep in the end. My oldest is 7, so there's a bunch of kids' birthday parties all the time. And it was one of his friends' birthday yesterday, and we bought him a Dragon Ball Z book and kind of a Pokemon hoodie because the kid absolutely loves Pokemons and Dragon Ball. So we go to his house to kind of give it away, and the kid looks at the presents and he's all excited for 1 second, and then he's like, "That's it," that that's what he asked. He's like, "That's it." And next thing you know, he pulls out his soccer ball and like he plays soccer with my friends, and that's what they truly love to do. So what I'm trying to say right now is you can give them all the gifts that you want. Okay, he's gonna play with that gift, he's gonna be happy about it, but it just falls into the noise of more gifts, okay, more stuff. And when you realize it, they just love playing together, and that's what they remember. That's how they become friends. That's how they learn to communicate. At least little boys, little girls know how to do it naturally. Little boys, you gotta create the situation. Sometimes they don't know that. But man, just looking at that example, it just reminds you how moments are truly what creates our lives, and what makes everything more colorful, better. It's not just the gifts, and we kind of fall into that trap very often. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
Oh man, some really great things right there, and that I sometimes I know familiarity breeds contempt, and if you've listened to this podcast in the past, you've heard some things, but this is an episode I think we should all just be sure to write it down, make sure and get it down. So there's so many things. Brandon came up with this idea of mind posture. Love that word, love that idea, mind posture. What's the posture of your mind? You know, when you look at somebody standing there, what are their posture? Because those postures can become habitually your your solid state. You know, everybody remember back in the day. I don't know if it's as much anymore, but they want you to stand up straight, watch your posture, because it affects you. They realize, yeah, Brandon just sat up, right? So, did you realize that your posture affects your outcome? Structure governs function. So, what's your posture in your mind? What's your regular posture? Because it can become your habit. So, I love that idea. Posture. Change your posture. PMA versus NMA. Positive mental attitude, negative mental attitude. Coincidental. So Brandon mentioned something. He says in the airport, you know, you talk to somebody and they could have, you know, been the person you needed to talk to. It's coincidental. Well, we can think so. You could not believe in magic or not. That's up to you. Go to a magic show and sit there, and the whole time you're trying to figure out how they did the magic instead of enjoying the show. Ah, how they do that? I want to see behind them. Look, I didn't do that. You know, yeah, people leave and they go, "Wow, that was amazing." I don't know. I saw that time. It's sleight of hand. I think I saw somebody from behind it. And yeah, you can go ahead and look at life like that and try to figure it all out, or you can enjoy the magic of that person you just talked to that you didn't realize. I need to hear that, man, at that time. I really need to hear that person tell me that, you know, they're going through this or they're doing that, and then it made put everything in perspective for me. Or you cannot just think it's random and don't see the magic. That's okay. Keep looking for where the person came out of the curtain and you didn't see them, and that's okay. Ruin it for yourself. So, um, we're creating. Just tell us how we're creator of the wow moments. See, when you don't see the magic, you don't see the wow. You skip past it because you're too busy looking for how they did it. And you miss the wow moments. So, yeah, I believe in magic. I really do. I believe that there's some magic. Even in, you know, the darkest times, there's magic to be had. So that conversation that you chose to have with that person beside you may have just changed your day and may have changed the way you're thinking. And then it affects whoever you're meeting at the other end of the airport. So that was awesome. Charlie talked about, I love this one. Every time you open your eyes, it's an opportunity. You better believe that. They say change takes a snap of a finger. If all of us on this call wanted to take one idea from the call and change it, that's how quick it takes it. You know what takes so long? The decision to change takes so long. Not change. Change is overnight. Like literally, someone listening to this can get out of wherever you're listening to this, on the treadmill, the car, whatever. You can get literally go, I like that idea, I'm gonna change. Boom. That's how quick. But it's the decision to change that takes everyone so long. And it is an opportunity. You get a do-over every second, actually. Forget about every day. That's too long. You get a do-over every second of the day. Let something change you. Let the moment, let the music, let the experience change you. Allow it, surrender. I have to do versus I get to do. Charlie mentioned that. Yeah. It's those, you know, it's those have to moments that put you in the missing it category. I have to go to the gym. I have to do this deadline. I have to. I have to. I have to. I should. Those words, should and have to. There. No, I get to go. I get to go. I spent, 11 weeks in ICU. Uh, that's where I've been, right? With my son, and I see a lot of people who wish they got the chance you did. I walked Hospital Row in Toronto, which is a University Avenue in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And then on that university strip, it's all Sick Kids Hospital, Mount Sinai, Toronto General Hospital, and Western's on the, not far, but they're all Princess Margaret Cancer Hospital. So go walk that alleyway and tell me about you have to or get to. So, um, yeah, it's you get to. You don't have to, but get to moments creates the wow. I get to go to the gym. Wow. I get to go to work. You know that place you complain about all the time that actually pays your bills and puts a roof over your head? It may not be the greatest income, but when you decide one day that I want to level up my skills, maybe that income will go up. Uh, you know, so as a quote goes, your raise becomes effective when you do. So maybe that's what needs to happen. Switch your mindset around that. Yeah, have to is linked to creating negative moments. I get to creates wow moments. So what do you get to do? Where do you invest time? And Ray, yes, the sailor at sea, love that. Aimlessly wandering around. The ship without a rudder, the set of your sail. There's so many ways we could put that. The set of your sail is how you wake up every day, and regardless of the politics, regardless of the what's going on in out in the world, which is a lot of stormy. It's very stormy out there lately. And you could wake up and it takes you over here and has you aimlessly wandering over to here. But the rudder, the set of your sail, guides you in the direction, your attitude, what you choose to let in your head, what you choose to watch, what algorithms you choose to let become your reality is the set of your sail. And it reminds me again of Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, where, as Ray so eloquently pointed out, you could get up every day as a sailor and see nothing. There's no guide, there's no roadway, there's no map. There's just open water, the clouds, nothing to guide you. And maybe months you are aimlessly wandering on this thing, but without a meaning, without every day. At that point, what you want to do is you want to take every day and create wow moments in wherever you are. Think about, they say in that book, they used to think about their goals while they're in Auschwitz and in the camp, what they're going to do after, how they're going to create all these things in the future. And that's what got them through. While many people give up and they gave in. Viktor Frankl and the people he was with, they started creating what's it going to be like once I get out of here. And they started creating the future. Again, believing in magic. Intentionality is something Ray brought up. Being intentional. That is crucial. How do you show up? And your consciousness, your level of consciousness, dream state you mentioned as well. And consciousness creates our reality. When you start seeing the red car, you mentioned a red car. It's almost like it's now as I'm talking about this, it reminds me of our Siri, our computers. The minute we start to say something, we all jump on and go, geez, I can't believe I said that. And now I'm seeing it pop up on my phone now all of a sudden. It's the same thing as our consciousness. This is what computers are doing. It's picking up on what you talked about, and all of a sudden you see more of it. It's no different than when we set goals and we become intentional. It's actually it's an AI version of that, actually. So why don't we do it to ourselves? Become more what we speak. Actually, this is diving into a whole new podcast. Because what if we speak what we want to have pop up in our search engine, our life search engine? So don't say things if you don't want it popping up in your reality. Because not only is the computer listening, but our consciousness is listening, our subconscious, and it's going to pop up exactly what we talk about. Same thing. Build your life's resume. Love that. And the other part I love is at the end of your life, when you look back, are you going to be excited? Remind me of my grandmother when she passed years ago. I remember her home, a small bungalow, but I always remember it being crammed. Every room was jammed. All right. She may have came from that era, not may have. She came from that era where you saved everything. Never know when you're gonna have the last of it, so save it. So I remember this house. I think it was probably 1,000 square feet at the most, maybe less, but it was from roof to floor. It was jammed. And at the end of her day, when I went to visit her at the home she was in, it was a room of three. She shared a room with three other women. And all she had in that room at the end of her day was a night table, a bed, and some pictures of people close to her. That's it. So all of that stuff that was crammed in that house, gone. And the only thing left was the meaningful things. So let that be an example. I kind of looked at it and went, wow, you really don't see a U-Haul behind a hearse because you can't take it. So creating those wow moments, I love this idea of building what you schedule gets done. So Jesse hits her scheduled time, of which comes from another person, and now that becomes his uh, SOP, standard operating procedure. And Ray, now that's gifted to you. You have created it. And yes, it's always been said, you know what's important to you when I look at your schedule. What's in your schedule? If health is there, you say it's important. Well, let's see. Let's look at your schedule. Is it in there? Is it booked in? So magic moments. We can be intentional. And so that's a great review, everyone. I mean, I hope I'm going to pass the mic again, but I just hope that this podcast inspires the listener to make just one change. If it didn't inspire you to make a change, then again, how are you going through it? Are you looking for how the magic is done? Or are you gonna let the magic just enjoy the show, man? Enjoy the show. Stop looking for how it's done. And I finish with this quote from Jim Rohn. He reminded me of it. He said, "So many people are busy studying the root of how the tree is done, and so many more are enjoying the fruit. So you can study the root or enjoy the fruit." So with that, I'll pass the mic.
Man, where do we even start with? There's so many
Oh,
things. I'm
yeah.
gonna touch on just a couple, and just a couple of bites here from the table, right? So you you said, who, if you're not you just finished up with, if you're not inspired by this to make a change, what are you doing, right? Essentially. And I think that if someone's listening to this and you're not inspired by the change, then you must be doing all this, right? You must be living right, which I would say all of us on this call, and probably almost everyone that's going to hear this, if we're being honest, we can do better, right? Than where we're at. And the scheduling, being intentional with your time. I just last week I was in Seattle at a keynote for about 300 plus people, and incredible event. And last minute I going over everything, and I'm zeroed, I'm locked in, prepping, and it just hit me. I need to add one more thing. And I took a screenshot of my calendar, my work calendar, And we've all probably got multiple calendars. People listening to this, you got work, personal, etc. Maybe a shared calendar with family, you know. And I looked at my work calendar, and it was a disaster. And certain colors mean certain things to me, and you know, red is like non-negotiable. I have to do this. But I asked everyone during, I showed it, I brought it up on the screen in front of everyone during a conversation about being intentional and planning. How much time do we plan our personal lives, our actual life? Because work is not just life, right? It's not everything. You know, for some people it is, and they've gotten to a place to where it's become life, and there's this beautiful symbiotic balance to it, right? You know, to a certain point, maybe not a full balance, but you understand what I'm getting at. But most of us, like myself, it's like I have my job, and then I also have my family and my friends and my kids and my wife and personal stuff. And we spend so much time for planning our professional lives or just our work and what we do in the grind day in and day out. But what are we doing for ourselves? What are we doing for our family? Are we being intentional in that aspect as well? You know, and I would venture to say most of us, our personal calendars probably don't look anything like our professional calendars. Right. Hence why so many of us are so numb, huh, Ray? Just numb. We're numb. We're numb because of work, and then become numb. That numbness bleeds over in our personal lives when we come home, and we just don't have anything else to give sometimes. Or people, our family, our friends, our loved ones, those that really matter the most, are just getting the leftovers or whatever's left, and sometimes there's just nothing left. So that intentionality, and I mean, there's so much to unpack just from that. And then also there was another thing you mentioned. Oh, the algorithm, Siri. So what made me think there, as Siri turns on my phone, I'm gonna shut her off. Always listening. There's a whole conversation I'd love for us to dive into this because the voices are real, right? When you hear all the voices in my head, people say things, and I think I've mentioned this before, but you know, I hear this voice, and a lot of the time that's self-talk, and that self-talk is 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 legit, and it sets up that algorithm, that thought process, how you think about yourself, how you think about your life, how you think about others or experiences or your job or what you have to do. And like you said, positive mental attitude, or you got a negative mental attitude, and that subconscious algorithm based on your thought process, based on how you see yourself, what you're telling yourself, whether it's, you know, childhood trauma and what you were told as a kid, you're no good, or you're never going to be this, or you were never wanted. And as an adult at 40 something years old, having to struggling, speaking from experience, struggling with self-worth or imposter syndrome, you know, because of that subconscious algorithm that's playing in the background or setting you up. So your view on how you see things, how you see the world, how you see what you're wanting to do, or what's in front of you is going to directly impact what actually happens going forward in the next moment, right? So just that could, what a beautiful conversation to dive into there. And I'll say this, the last thing, and I'll pass the mic. My children, their great grandfather was an Auschwitz survivor. He and his brother were the only two in the family that made it out, and were separated initially after the family was lost, and then found each other back in Auschwitz, where one was taken to another camp and then brought back at some time, and they survived, and they walked out of there barely. And the stories of perseverance, and then to see what that man built when he came to America, um, and the family and legacy he has left behind. There's a lesson in all that too. Incredible. So with that, I'll pass the mic.
Wow.
Awesome. Yeah, well, for me, Alvin, you mentioned the Jim Rohn quote about the roots and the fruit, right? And it made me think that we've really got to, when we're going through this, and how many days have we really lived, and all the opportunities we have to enjoy that, and create memories. It's so important to fall in love with the process, right? The process of becoming the person that we can potentially be, right? The process of transforming your body, the process of transforming your mind, the process of transforming your relationships. Because you think about a fruit tree, there's all these things that have to occur, and the fruit is the last thing to appear. It's last. And so, if we're waiting on that fruit, we're missing that journey. And so, but the journey creates the fruit. And so, we have the opportunity to enjoy both. With that, I'll pass the mic.
That's so true. That's so true, Charlie. Falling in love with the process, and we always hear, all of us have heard it to a point where sometimes we forget what it actually means, what it truly means. And I'll go back to a wisdom that Alvin shared. He said, "Change is as quick as the snap of a finger," right? And it's the decision to change that usually takes too long. Well, when you live your legacy right now, okay, by falling in love with the process, that's truly what it is. You're starting to live that legacy that you project ultimately right now, okay? And you're becoming what you need to become, and ultimately that's why we hear about overnight success stories. It's because they were in the process probably for a very long time, and ultimately they made that decision. They were ready to make that decision, and when you do, then everything happens at the snap of a finger. It happens that quick, you know. But it really starts by living your legacy right now, man. So that's some powerful stuff. That's some powerful stuff that I'm glad to be reminded of it today. It's one thing to learn, it's one thing to have the conversation, it's another thing to do. Okay, to do and set out every single day and be okay. I want to create this, I want to be this. Maybe I don't have these resources yet, maybe I don't have this yet, but maybe I can start living a bit like this right now, and ultimately it will make me into what I'm supposed to be. And if I do have fears and if I do have doubts, well, I'm still doing what's required and necessary to overcome these fears and doubts. And when I'm ready, then it's about making the decision. And here I am, here I am. And that's really what it is for all of us. So it's a great reminder. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
All right. So many great things that let me go back here. Yeah, Brandon, I love that you were vulnerable enough on that stage to show people your schedule, and to show them, because it really is, when you think about it, your schedule, if you have one, maybe some people don't, but if you have one, look at it. It's reality. It's your GPS of where you're going in your life, right? If you don't have a schedule, good for you, and you're not a senior, that's amazing. And even if you are a senior, that schedule should be filled with wow moments. It's not over yet if you're 90. Or my son met his girlfriend, and her grandfather, he's 90. Or is he 90? Might be close, if not 90. This guy, you can't tell. Shout out to Eddie. I love Eddie. I love me some Eddie. Eddie, you can't tell that this guy's whatever he is, 90 or 88 or something. He's in the late 80s and the 90s. This guy, you can't tell. He's still doing real estate. He's still Him and his wife, they're full energy. I mean, so
Mm.
yeah. What's your schedule? And just always smiling, laughing, and I think they've been him and his wife maybe been together for 60 years. I'm not sure, you know. So, but still looks very vibrant and very here. So amazing, amazing. And Charlie, fall in love with the process, and that made me think about doing little things really well. What if every day? I remember years ago, my first job. One of my first job was working at a uh, Burger King. And at the end of the day, this is how they taught us, trained us to clean up when you're done. There's a sweep, you sweep the floor. Then there's a wet mop, then a dry mop, and then a third dry mop. And the floor, that's how you do it. And I remember putting everything into that, literally, seriously, and then some of my co-workers would just, no one's looking, kind of just use a dry mop-ish, dryish, so the floor looks a little wet, and just sweep the dirt around a little bit, and then they're out of there. And I used to remember, even back then, I remember it. That was decades ago. Sweep the floor, wet mop, and dry mop twice. The little things, because when I turned around and looked, yeah, it's good. That's good. So what if we did the little things really, really well? That's how we fall in love with the process.
Mm.
Is what if we, Brandon, you go to speak, and every time you go to speak, what can I do one more thing better than I did it last time? If I didn't pause last time, I was gonna do something emotional and it didn't come out quite. So this time I'm gonna use some pauses and see if I can draw out the audience. This again, the little things really well. I'm sure Picasso didn't just go paint another picture again today. Jesus, I'm sure he went and painted with care and the eyebrows and the cheek and like again, what can we do really well? And Charlie, I love that the fruit is the last thing to appear. And I wrote here the magic is over at that point, quote unquote, right? Because right now, as I think about the fruit, funny enough, there's an apple tree out my backyard that in a few months, maybe a month or two, yeah, there'll be a blossom, apple blossom, a lot of them. And then they'll fall off, and then the fruit starts coming, small, and then next thing you know, we have something we can eat. I take a picture of it every year. Every year I take a picture because I find it's amazing, and it actually does it every other year. It produces it every other year. And I think, what's that intelligence? That's an intelligence that this tree has. We're amazed at smartphones and said we're amazed at AI. Come on, look around you. What's that intelligence? And it's not artificial. It's happening. So I love that idea. And then Ray finally, um, they made the decision. These people that you're talking about made a decision to become famous or to become successful. They've been sitting on it for a while, and then they made a decision, and boom. And I'm gonna also add to that. I think one of the reasons why we don't make the decision to become our true self, greatness or whatever it is your thing is, with great power and success comes great responsibility. So a lot of times we kind of put the pause on it because yeah, can we handle it? Especially today with social media. You're out there, quote unquote. So you have to love what you do and be really connected with it. And then I wrote here luck. They get lucky, these people. So many people you see, artists. I love artists of all kinds. And you see them pop up out of nowhere, quote unquote. But you go and look back and they've been playing in bars. They've been at, Disney World as Disney kids, or they've been out on the street corner, singing on the corner in the subway, and then quote unquote they get lucky. TikTok has actually produced a lot of lucky people because they've had a chance now to paint that picture. Or I saw a person who sketches people, and he's now famous. Barack Obama. He sketched Barack Obama, and he sketched so many people that this person has millions of followers now, and he just sketched. I love social media for that, because they create more lucky people who decide to express themselves. So winding it back then to close it out, wind it back to our conversation of wow moments. As we can see, as I just finish off with the TikTok and luck, luck is when opportunity meets preparation. These people they didn't get lucky. They're intentional. They created wow moments along the way. They worked on their art. They worked on their thing. They work tirelessly and passionately on their thing, and then luck just pops up, and they look back and they're having wow moments. The wow moments just keep coming because they're working in their passion. Don't go to sleep on your gifts and your dreams and wish and hope, and don't always attempt to figure out how the magician did the trick. Just be amazed by the trick. Like a kid doesn't think about, oh, let me stay up late and figure out if mom's or dad is creating this Santa thing. They just, wow, yay, they're happy. Right? Don't always try to figure it out. Uh, just let the magic take you and create more wow moments. So with that, I'll pass the mic for the final wrap up, and we'll put this one to bed. We'll serve this one out, this meal. All right, I'll pass the mic.
Hey, buddy.
All right, go for it. Cap
No,
us off.
I'm good. This was as always another great discussion. It goes by too fast. It's counted as a blessing to see all your faces. Enjoy the Sunday morning
Amen.
with you and spreading some wisdom, right? Sharing wisdom,
Amen.
taking in some wisdom like a sponge, as I do every time. So to be continued.
Amen. You guys create that. Brandon, just remind me, as you said, this to be back is the another wow moment to start my Sunday. So, and it can't be overlooked.
Yeah, I'll just say that I echo, everything that Brandon said, and I think it's just so powerful to start the week off this way, right? To start the week off with the right mind posture, as Brandon mentioned earlier, and to be mindful of that during the week as we go out and create, a life well lived. It's that I'll pass the mic.
Amen.
You're
Ray,
muted, brother.
Ray, give us a little magic, brother.
So my word for the week is awe. I'm in awe.
Yeah.
Every single week. That's really what it is. I come out with stuff that are good to me in every facet of my life that I can think of. Okay. And I'm truly grateful. I'm grateful for you guys. It makes me grateful for this great life that we have. And when I say I'm in awe, I think of all of you. Brandon, you talk about your grandfather and the Auschwitz. Sorry, I had chills. Like Alvin, you started off today before we even got on the call about how energy and how it's transmuted. Man, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. So yeah, that's all I can think of. I'm in awe. And Alvin, or all of you, I highly recommend that you check a movie. It just came out on Netflix. It's called Electric State.
Okay.
Very interesting about how that energy can be transmuted. So I checked it yesterday, and it's exactly what we were talking about today. So again, no coincidence here, but yeah, man, I'm in awe. That's all I can say.
Amen. Amen.
I'll share a word with you, Ray. My wife and I, when we were dating, we used to kind of chuckle at some of how our lives were so intertwined and we had never seen each other. We'd never noticed one another, as if God had blinders on us. And we started out saying, "Ah, man, God's crazy, right? He's just crazy." And the more we thought about it one night, as we were talking and having a deep conversation, it's like he's really not. He's pretty well put together, right? He knows what he's doing. And we we coined a word. We created our own word, amazing, rather than amazing. And it was we're in awe of what he's done and what he continues to do. And at the end of the day, he's amazing. So we came up with amazing. Was our
100%.
is a word we've used throughout our relationship and marriage, and it continues to be true.
Love it. 100%.
Ray, what was that
It's
movie?
called Electric State.
Okay.
It's between a brother and a sister.
Yeah.
The brother passed away, but how his energy transmuted and can change the world is
hey,
the
Ray.
quirky movie with like robots and stuff, but very deep when you really understand the story, you know?
Ray throws one in there at the end, bro. That's that's it. That's what I'm looking for. Perfect. And amazing. And I will finish my word is with two words, Brendan, there, mind posture. So back in the day, if you're younger, you won't remember this, but back in the day that before my generation, they used to tap you all the time, and when they found you slumping, sit up straight. You know, school was a big thing on posture and etiquette and all these kind of things. It was a big deal back then, you know, and sit up straight. And yeah, okay, head up. Well, Brandon is that person now. The mind posture. Hey, get up. Okay, all right, got it. My mind was up. All right, cool, got you. So awesome. Mind posture. I'll remember that one. All right, my fellas. Charlie, did you want to say something?
Yeah, my word. Wow, there's just so many flowing through me, but it's interesting. Uh, as my word's going to be the force, right?
Yeah.
And you think about that Star Wars, and I saw an interview with George Lucas years ago, and how he created this story and all the things that go with it. And the person that was interviewing him, the journalist, asked him, well, hey, do you believe that somewhere far, far away or a long, long time ago that there was some type of intergalactic, conflict? He said, I don't know if I believe in that. He said, but I do believe in the force. And I've always remembered that. And I think that's my superpower.
The force.
The force. And that's a whole nother conversation.
All right. Then we'll have to put it on the menu. All right. All right, my fellas, may the force be with you. We're going to end with our usual. When we wish you all peace, we
Peace.
truly do. Love, a whole lot of love.
Wow.
And just a sprinkler soul. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, have a fantastic. Thanks for your time. I hope you invested it well with us. And the listeners, I hope you also invested well. You didn't spend time, you invested time with. That's what our hope is that we give you an appreciating asset that you'll always take with you. And we wish you all the best. We're out. Peace.
Peace.